Okay, an official good morning to everyone. Welcome to BridgeForce University's Newer Broker webinar. My name is Dennis Brumley. I work out of the BridgeForce Grand River office, and many of you may have seen me. You'll see me at the BridgeForce meetings in Ingersoll and in Niagara. So whether you've been with BridgeForce 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years or longer, there's probably something in here today that's going to help you in your business, because we want you to be in business for yourself but not by yourself. So first of all, a special thanks to Kathy Page from the Mississauga office, who's also a member of our BridgeForce marketing team, for helping put this webinar together. So if I use a football analogy, she's the offensive coordinator and I'm the quarterback. So thank you, Cassie, for everything you're doing for BridgeForce and for our webinars. And also a shout out to Craig Pike, being our technical guy in the background, helping us out with things. So we put this workshop together as we have brokers coming to us from different career paths, and lately we've been having a lot of brokers referred to us by our existing brokers. But when brokers come to us, we don't always know their background and how much training and development they've had. So our objective is to help brokers know more about BridgeForce, how we operate, and how BridgeForce works. So basically, we're trying to put everybody on the same page. Now, if you came from the career system, for example, from London Life and Sun Life, please use the background and training as the foundation to build your career as a broker. If you're coming to us from another channel or from another MGA, this will help you see how BridgeForce works, because it takes time to learn the brokerage system, because in the brokerage system you have to be not only a business person and a salesperson. So, and it took me about 2 years when I came to from the career side over to brokerage. Now, the webinar is going to be in 6 parts. First of all, we'll talk a little bit about BridgeForce itself. Then we're going to talk about compliance, which everybody's come to love. Then we're going to talk about the business, the companies. BridgeForce is associated with about 20 different insurance companies now. And some products, some tools, some broker development, and also today it's probably so can't have a newer broker webinar follow-up in July. All right, so don't worry about it today if you can't take it all in. This will give you some time to look at the material over the next month or so, and then as we do a follow-up, I'll do brief, and then finish the rest. 2 things that are important today, and I would hope that you, because you'll see. All right. I'll try not to move too fast. Here. There's 2 after the initial part of the presentation. So, all right, so it's in front of your screen, printed. In the agenda, there's numbers to the right, and that means that there's an attachment or a reference to that particular items. Now, there's like 31 attachments to this agenda. I'm going to go over some of them in detail. Some of them I'm just going to kind of gloss over, okay? And then we'll talk about it in a little more detail. Now, when I started in the business, I got some great advice from a manager. He said, Dennis, you sell 100 policies a year, and you need to have, well, I got my CLU within my first of urgency in me today. So get a mentor. You need to have a mentor in this business. And he also said, Dennis, the real secret to success in this business is to last. And so I remember at the end of my first year, I went out, had my picture taken because I wanted to show to myself that I was a survivor since then. So it was very good advice. So let's get started here. I recently did this workshop with brokers who had been with us less than 4 months, and that's been within the last 2 or 3 weeks. And when I went through this with them, it took 2 seconds. Saying rather than rush through it, I'm going to make sure and so that you can get the greatest benefit out of this. And also we have a today, and thank you all for taking the time to be part of this. And I'd say about 40% of them are women. And I'd also like to welcome some of the Ben assistants out there. Welcome, Catherine. And so let's get going. So if we go to the first page here, go down. This is in our BridgeForce marketing material. And once in a while, since I'm wearing a headset today, I feel like a traffic controller a little bit. I might walk around the room a little bit as we go along, okay? So I'll try not to do that too much. So benefits of BridgeForce. BridgeForce is one of the largest Canadian-owned and operated MGAs in Canada. And according to the Insurance Journal, BridgeForce is one of the 5 largest MGAs in Canada. So we are a major player. And this just goes over some of the highlights and some of the things that you already know because you're part of BridgeForce. But one thing I really do want to stress is BridgeForce, we are a relationship-oriented MGA. Once in a while, I'll get a call from a prospective broker, and the first thing out of their mouth will be, what are you going to pay me? And my response is nothing. And I said, well, why would you say that? And I says, look, if the compensation is more important than the relationship, we have nowhere to go. So that's what we really, and if you notice, we do have a lot of things going on. We have seminars and PD days and sales campaigns and different things that we go on now. We have newsletters, and then we have compliance meetings, and this, which is part of our training program. That's very important for and we have off throughout Southwestern Ontario and Greater Toronto, and BridgeForce, Thornhill, Mississauga, North York, and then BridgeForce West is London and Niagara. Out of where we're at, and we have over 2,500 advisors. We've opened up BridgeForce out west as well. As we take a look at the BridgeForce office, get to know the staff, and just to let you know, one of our sent this email to me. He says, I just wanted to send an email of gratitude to your team of BridgeForce for all you have done for me up to this point in my career as I ventured onto life insurance and living benefits side of the business. All your assistance and guidance was none more evident today in the last few weeks as I submitted new business to RBC and Equitable Life that was either incomplete or not correct. Every one of you helped guide me through the process, went above and beyond to make sure my apps and contracts submitted properly. Thank you very much, and I am extremely grateful to the work for the work you do. Cheers. He sent that to everyone in our office. When he comes in, we all know he gets curb service now. When he comes in, we all know him a little more now. So all he did was get to know who's in your office doing and show some appreciation. Okay, we're moving on to the BridgeForce website. This is very important. This is a great reference point when you're taking a look at things. And if we take a look here, the benefits of BridgeForce, who we are, what we do, about BridgeForce, different things that we do, and then a toolbox about when our meetings are. There's a calendar. There's a compliance aspect there, and we just updated the compliance aspect recently. There's a new compliance website for setting up your practice, getting ready to sell, and practice management. So that's just very new in the last week or so. So I think you need to take a look at that. So check out the BridgeForce website. Lots of things there, lots of things you can use. It's going to help you in your business. Okay, moving on. I need to move in the right direction here. Okay, how many of you attended the BridgeForce compliance meetings in March? Please raise your hands. Okay. Well, from the look of it, sounds like about some of you attended, and hopefully it was most of you attended. Those are important meetings for you to go to. And how many of you stayed for the workshop afterwards? I'd like to see a show of hands there. Well, that's not very many because I went to, I guess Erlene, the compliance officer, figured I need to go to 2, so I went to the one in Ingersoll and the one in Niagara, and very few people stayed for the compliance workshop, which probably meant they're either fully compliant or they didn't want to deal with it. And then the third question is, this is screen number 4, what have you done about your compliance since then? Some, very little. And then the key question is, what's in your... After the compliance meeting in March, I got an email from one of the brokers and says, I think I'm more confused than when I started. So my associate Mark Denny and I decided we'd do a compliance workshop, and we were hoping so compliant they would need to come. We had 2 workshops, and what we did is we took it down to the nuts and bolts, a little kit for client. So it's the compliance puzzle. If we take exposure, there's privacy, there's AML regime, anti-money laundering regime, and there's privacy regime. So this is the part of the puzzle which seemed to confuse a lot of brokers. So what we did is we had this workshop. This is a follow-up from the BridgeForce workshop, and there was our agenda where we followed up. We went over some different things, and we went through the things that you need to have in your compliance kit. Advisor disclosure templates, engagement letter, needs analysis, reason why letter, privacy, AML, things like that. So, and then we went one step further. We created what's called a super compliance email, which is this next page under 4 here, where we have a super email, which I will be glad to send to you. My email is up there at the top of the agenda. And this has like 18 templates with it. And those are all the templates that you would basically need to make sure you're being fully compliant. All right. So this is a big help. Also go to the, and all this has come from the BridgeForce website. We just kind of put it together in a, format so that this is what you need. And we had one broker who sent me the email. He came to our compliance meeting and workshop, and he went from one side all the way to the other side. He called me the day after the workshop, says, I want to meet with you on Friday. And he came in and he met with us, and he basically had everything that he needed to have except for a couple little minor items. So he went from one side to the other. So he's like our BridgeForce poster boy now for compliance. So it just shows that it's very important, and it's something that you need to stay on top of all the time. So that's there. And then on the last part of number 4 is so the things you need for compliance procedures: advisor disclosure, privacy consent, letter of engagement, needs analysis, reason why letter, which is relatively new. We'll have one a little later on here. Privacy regime and AML regime. So those are the things that you kind of need to do. All right. So now we're going to on the business itself. And number 5, I would circle on your, and I'll point out some of the key that I think takeaways. Compliance email, circle that one. Then call it who's with who or who bought who we've ever come out with. And we use this a lot, and we need to update it more recently. I show this to clients all the time to show what it means to be a broker. So if you take a look at there used to be over 100 insurance companies in Canada. Now there's like a handful, it seems. But if you take a look at the players that are left, they're in the bold print there, from the Bank of Montreal down to UL Mutual. Some of these companies you may have heard of, some of you may not have heard of, but if you take a look at the ones in the bold print, those are the present players out there. All right. Now, if you take a look at ones in the light print, those are the companies that have been acquired. And you see that big blob in the middle, that's Manulife. They've acquired 26 companies. Yes, 26 companies. All right. So, and the interesting point about this is you look at the asterisk on the left to those companies. And if you will see, it says denotes companies represented by BridgeForce. So we represent most of all, there's 20 companies we represent, most of all what's left of the insurance industry. So if you're in competition against a London Life, for example, well, London Life, Canada Life, and Great West Life are all sister companies. So they all offer basically the same products. I did a Life Guide illustration the other day. Great West, London, Canada, same rates. Also, Sun Life, if you're up against a Sun Life agent, we sell Sun Life. We broker Sun Life. You can basically sell the same products that they can sell. So you can basically, if you run up a competition out there, you have access to what's out there in the marketplace. And I've also pointed out some things there, like some people think that CPP is owned by Foresters. No, it isn't. They're a separate company. So that's, and if you notice, Great West owns Canada Life. All right. So this helps you. And if somebody comes up and say, well, I got an old Pitts Life policy, where's that at? Well, you look up, you're to our RBC. So you can make yourself look at it. So this is one thing I would print off and use it as a reference item. Certainly circle that. It's going to be very helpful going down the road as a broker to position yourself. So like I said, I use this as part of my compliance. And one thing I will tell you, a lot of this material has been field tested. So it's not like we're just showing it to you and say, oh, it sounds good, looks good. I'm out in the field all the time and I field test stuff. And if it works, then I share it. If it doesn't work, well, you won't see it. Okay. But it's there. All right. Now, also, it's very important to tell people what you do. So many people say, I never knew you did that. Well, I think it's important you tell people what you do. So the individual financial services, you need to let them know that you sell life insurance, you sell critical illness insurance, disability, long-term. These are all the things that you're licensed to do with your life insurance and the A&S license. So it's important you know that, and that you continually, tell that to people, that when you're out there, this is basically what I do. All right. Now we're going to go on to some advisor disclosure. These are all in that super compliance email and things. This is an advisor disclosure template. I think we took this from the BridgeForce website. You should all be using this. Basically, how you hold yourself out, the companies you represent, different things like that, relations. Basically, everybody seems to know about interest, so that's something they should have. Thing is, advisor consent to keep to communicate with one. This is number 8. Engagement recommended. So you can. This is a several. When you're doing these letters, careful on what you're promising. You're prepared to do for your. Here is rather long, so it depends on the situation. All right. Now, next we go on to number 10. Okay, so we get into the fact finding aspect of. And almost everybody now is going to ask you for some type of a needs analysis. This is one from InsureRight, which is Manulife. So you can use any one you want, but it's important that you incorporate some type of a needs analysis into your presentation. All right. And then once you finish your needs analysis, you would make some recommendations and advice to that particular client. Now moving on to life insurance information. Okay, it's important that you give your clients a little bit of education on life insurance if that's what you're going to be selling them. And life insurance creates an immediate tax-free benefit in the event of a premature death. The proceeds can be paid directly to a named beneficiary. And there's 2 types of this life insurance. There's ones to create an estate, those that conserve an estate. So what I've put down here is the types of life insurance used for estate creation. There's term insurance, there's permanent. So there's term at the top, 10-year term, 20-year term, 30-year term, T100, universal life, and whole life. So those are the basic types of life insurance, and it shows up there, how they work and the increase. years ago, term 10 used to double every 10 years. Well, now it's probably more than that. I say 3 to 4 times. It's probably 4 to 5 times the initial premium on renewals. And 20-year term, lots of times it's not that much more than the 10-year term. And 30-year term has come in, and it's not much difference in price sometimes than the T100. T100, it's out there. It has with and without values. Universal life basically is basically life insurance with a side fund, and then whole life insurance, which has been the kind of stable of the life insurance industry for a long time, is making a comeback. And then a lot of times people don't realize you can use life insurance for estate creation, like for estate purposes, if there's a capital gains problem or something along those lines. And there's two types. There's joint last, paid up on first death, and there's joint last, paid up on second death. And also on joint last, if one of the lives is uninsurable, we can still get a policy. Okay, so a lot of brokers aren't aware of that, but you can do that. So those are different. So it's important that people get an idea of what different types of policies and what options are available to them. All right, now when we take a look at the life insurance business, basically we're in the selling business, and we have to understand that there's selling skills involved with our business. So the selling cycle always comes into account when we're doing a presentation, meaning that you have to have attention, you have to maintain interest, you have to allow time for evaluation and time for a decision. So attention, interest, evaluation, decision. I remember one time we had a new recruit, and he was so eager to sell something, he went right from the attention to the decision, forgot about the rest of it. Do you think he made the sale? No, but he learned a lot about what to do in the future. And he actually turned out to be one of our top agents. And also, too, you need to social styles. Need to know your own social style. Are you an amiable? You're friendly, easy to get along with, expressive? You like to show people, express what you're doing. Are you analytical, or are you a driver? So there's amiable, and drivers, and you need to kind of know what your social style is, what your client's social style is. So the next thing I have on here is agendas, and please circle this. This is one of the most important things that I think I've used, and I use agendas all the time. Like, as you can see today, I have an agenda, right? I go see people with an agenda. It's not a hidden agenda, it's an open agenda, but it enables people to know what I'm going to talk about. And I think that takes the pressure off them. So, because think about it, how many times have you gone into any interview with anybody and they presented an agenda with your name on it? If you notice, I have John and Mary BridgeForce on here with today's date, okay? So I think, how many times do people see stuff with their name on it? And it only takes a few minutes. You can use one general one. So this is a general agenda that I might use. So it's introduction, advisor disclosure, and the services that you're going to provide, your client's current situation, review of their present policies. And one question I like to ask when we review the present policies is this, and I'll say it a couple of times. What financial formula did you use to arrive at the amount of life insurance you presently own? What financial formula did you use to arrive at the amount of life insurance you presently own? And they come back and says, well, I don't know, or we just pulled something out of the air or something like that. So it's important that you use that. And then you talk about their current needs, okay, through a needs analysis of some type, okay. You go over some options with them, and then you ask some questions. Or do they have questions, or you ask questions? And I went to the Canada Sales Congress a couple weeks ago, and there's one important thing I got from that. It says, when in doubt, ask a question. When in doubt, ask a question. And I was in an interview recently, and I had a doubt about something. I asked a question, and I got the answer I was wanting, which I was thinking, should I ask the question or not? I just asked the question, got the answer. So that was good advice. So every once in a while, you can pick up something from these meetings on those things. And then the last thing is action to be taken. I like this because people always ask me, what does that mean? And I say to them, well, normal company procedure is that we fill out some papers, right? In other words, it's a close. Normal company procedure is that we fill out some papers. Because one of the closes that I use all the time is this. How much, what kind, when, and who. So how much do you need, an amount you can reasonably afford based upon what your current need is. What kind? Do you want to rent it? Do you want to own it? When should you get it? Well, the need's there right now. I may go away, but the need's not going to go away unless you do something about it. And who are you going to get it from? Well, somebody you trust and depend upon. So it's important that you kind of go over those things. And so the importance of the agenda. I got an email. This is the email. I got an email June the 1st from one of our newer brokers. He's been with us 2 years. His name's Hong. And it says, "Hi, Dennis. Just wanted to give you a big thanks for allowing me to secure your strategy of being prepared when meeting with clients by having an agenda in front of me when sitting down with them. I've had a lot of success, especially with my commercial clients on the property and casualty side of things, when I come prepared with an agenda and the information I need to collect from them before going back to the office and quoting out the business. It keeps me on track, and it shows them that I am professional and my time is valuable. This will hopefully translate into opening up conversations about life insurance and buy-sell agreements with them down the road. A big thank you." So that's just recent. So I just thought I'd share that with you as well. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to applications, procedure, and check. Doing all this stuff already. So and some of these I will go over. I'll hit the highlights. I'm not going to go over everything on here, but please make sure you use the most current and up-to-date applications. The time of pulling an old app out of a briefcase, make sure you're up-to-date with what you're. So we get apps that aren't even the same color as the existing ones, okay? Shorter apps, the app, use it. Don't pull it out and you. Please go over kind of the general aspect of that, otherwise you're going to miss something. And make sure you ask all the questions you need to ask, all right? And get proper signatures and witness, and please fill out the broker report. Now, also remember, if you don't ask the medical questions, which you don't have to if there's a paramedical, you're not going to have access to information. And I'm going to share something with you in a little while about pre-underwriting. Please send a proper illustration and the medical requirements so you know what you're applying for, and we get it right. Like it's like Manulife, you have a product page, and it depends on your offices. Either sometimes brokers or their own medicals, or we order the medicals. Our processes in our offices, if you order the medicals, you follow them up. If we order the medicals, we'll follow them up. So each office is a little different. Okay, so you have to find out what your procedure is. And please have somebody look over the app. I'm going to share with you an app checklist right after this. It's something I think you should circle and use. That broker I said, Hong there, he sends one in with every application, so I know that somebody's going over it, because it's going to prevent you from missing stuff. And then later on, I'm going to share a list of things that brokers miss on apps. Please include a cover letter to explain an evaluating case. I preach this all the time. If we have a problem with a case, one time I'll ask our case coordinator, did so-and-so send a cover letter? Well, no. And then I call them and said, look, you didn't give yourself a fighting chance. You need to explain, paint the picture for the underwriter of what you're trying to do. You're applying. It's an application. So, try and paint the picture for that. If you've done a pre-assessment, which we highly recommend that you do if there's a medical problem, include that with the application. Okay, that's important that that's included. And there are situations where questionnaires may be required, traveling, drinking, diabetes, so we suggest that maybe you keep one as a reference. Sometimes companies will accept other ones as long as the questions are similar. And if the applicant wants the medical information released, you can have them sign something for that. And then once the app comes in, we will send it in, we'll process it, we will coordinate, we will contact the companies, we will one thing, if we need more information, please get that back to us in a timely fashion. It doesn't help if those things kick around for a while. And then once the policy is approved, we let you know and go over it, make sure it's okay, and then prepare it for delivery and the things that you need to do. And just remember, it's very important that if you're collecting money on apps, if you're submitting an app, the application date and the date of the check have to be the same for temporary insurance or conditional insurance or interim insurance, whatever applies for the company. And just important, if it's COD, that policy is not in force until you collect a check and put it in force. And if there's been a change in health between the time of the application and the time the policy is delivered, there could be an issue there as well. All right. So when the policy is settled, the insurance company will pay you the commission right on your directly on your commission statement. So that's the application procedure and process. Now here's the life and living benefit checklist. If you're a newer broker, I would highly recommend you look at doing this because I think it's important. You need to have somebody look over your apps, and if you don't have anybody else but yourself, you need to have a process and procedure. So it has down here, did I discuss advisor disclosure? Did I use a current date app? Did I check the first premium? Did I have the same date? Brokers that forget to witness stuff. Did I put a quote in so order the medical requirements? If it's a permanent policy, remember most all companies require a signed application, especially signed illustration, especially if it's universal life and whole life. Okay, that's the general requirement for all the companies. And if you did a pre-underwriting assessment, please send that in. That tells the company you did some homework on this case and did some preparation. If you need replacement forms, and technically if somebody lapses a policy or surrenders a policy within 6 months, okay, of when you apply for insurance, either way, you're supposed to fill out replacement forms. Some other documents, questionnaires, additional information, cover report, and broker report. We got brokers that forget to sign those, okay? If you're splitting with somebody and what your code is and all that kind of stuff. So this is another thing I'd circle there as an app checklist to help you make sure you're on board with what your application's doing. Okay, and then some application tips. Complete the application regardless of some people. If you want to know all the medical information, you need to complete this complete the application, and it helps speed up the process, and you know if there's a medical issue. Note or cover letter, importance, and just don't say you've known them for 50 years or something. You put down that you've known them, but something about their characters, health, and well-being, but also something about insurable interest. Okay, why are you applying for what you're applying for? What is the reason behind it? And also, if you just explain family income, insurance companies have guidelines on family income, 10, 15, 20 times income, depending on how old they are. So it's important about that because there has to be some insurable interest at time of application. And then also, when you're taking a look at, we're also naming a lot of contingent beneficiaries now, just to make sure things are in place. If something happens to the principal beneficiary, contingent beneficiary, if it's minors, you have to name a trustee. Okay, so a medical history to avoid the dreaded APS delay, which we've all had. I just had 2 cases recently that I had to contact the clients continually, asking them to contact their doctor to get the information in, and it took a while. But because a lot of times we'll ask how well do you get along with your doctor, because if you do, that's going to be helpful in the process getting these APSs. And that's why if there's a medical situation, it's very important you send information in to help them along the way. Years ago, we had one agent, actually in Cambridge here, that he did such a great job on his app, the insurance company didn't order APSs on his cases because they found out they got more information from him than they did from the APS. And I saw his apps, they were incredible. So he just got a lot of information. And then also it's good if your client has a paramedical coming up, it's good to prepare them for that paramedical. I mean, basically it's going to be the same medical questions that are on the application, height and weight, blood pressure, they might take a urine specimen, they might take some blood. Don't go out drinking. I remember one case we had a guy went out and drank on the weekend. He had his paramedical on Monday and he blew everything off the charts, and then he was wondering why it didn't look right. So give your clients some advance warning on what's going to be involved. Also make sure they drink lots of water, things like that. I mean, I had a guy when you give saliva tests, the guy's saliva dried up on the way between the way we took it and the way to the lab, believe it or not, because he was dry. So drink some water, and if you aren't feeling well, have the client postpone and get all types of medication and stuff like that. So that's just important. So next we come down to cover letter. Okay, this is one on circle as well. Very important, cover letters, because you're painting the picture for the underwriter. So here's some general guidelines. Everybody wants a template. I don't think there's any real template you can use for this. You kind of have the situation's the boss. So application cover. Never assume the underwriter or insurer gets it. Be forthright and with the following. I've sent applications in, and if I forget to send a cover letter, the insurance company, where's the cover letter? Because they're so used to me sending those in. So make it a part of your routine, okay? Even if it's a simple case, I am pleased to submit this application to Foresters for John and Mary BridgeForce, and then tell them about, purpose of the insurance, why you chose that company, financials dissected, how well do you know the client? And that's important. There's some relationship there. Is there any other application? Is there any medical issue? Expand upon the medical issues. Be upfront with the insurance company so that they know what's going on. Okay, don't try and hide it. They're going to find it. Client's tolerance for extra premiums. Any other information relevant in the case. I tell clients, whether they've been a client for 2 months, 2 years, or 20 years, Foresters issuing 2 types of policies, those that pay and those that don't. Which one do you want to apply for? Meaning you have to tell the truth. Okay, so if you ask the questions, they have to tell the truth. Okay, don't be afraid to ask the questions, because that's going to be dependent upon whether they get the insurance, not get the insurance. Okay, because you don't want to have a contestable claim at the other end. Now, something new, relatively new, okay, is these reason why letters. Now, these are basically what you're doing is you're giving the client the reasons why they did what they did and why you did what you did. Okay, so there's sample, and there's various times that we're suggesting to our brokers that they use this at time when they do the policy delivery, so that when they do the policy delivery, go over the policy anyway, they're going over this reason why letter with the clients. And a lot of our brokers are having the clients sign the reason why letter and they're witnessing them. Some of the brokers are just doing the reason why letter and signing it themselves. So that's kind of up to you, but this one is basically something that you should be doing now at some point in the process, either early or later on. So sample reason why letters. Number one is they accept all the recommendations that you put into place. Okay, they did everything. You did some programming, you did some needs analysis, and they're going to do everything that you've suggested. Recommendation fully implemented. Well, say for example they like what you proposed, but they don't want to do everything. Well, this is a recommendation for partially implemented. Okay, and this is to protect you, so that if things go south, you got an agenda. This is what we went over. This is what we did. This is to protect you, and also reinforce what you sold them. And also, if you're selling investments, there's one in here for wealth product with fee options, so you can explain what you did, what the fees are, what the structure is, how it's going to afford. And then the fourth one is called order execution. Basically, somebody wants mortgage insurance or final expenses or something, so you just said, okay, this is what you wanted, this is what we did, here it is. So basically there's, those are the different scenarios: fully implemented, partially implemented, wealth, execution order with fees. All right, so, and like I said, we suggested you probably do that on delivery. All right, so there are times when and if you notice it says 17A, the reason it says 17A is because I added it, because before I had it in there and I didn't put an attachment with it. But I thought newer brokers might say, what's this about? So if you replace life insurance, like I said, within 6 months of a policy lapsing or something, you replace it, or most popular type of replacement or common type is there's a term renewal coming up. You have a 10-year coming up, and the renewal premium's going from $30 a month to $180 a month. And the client says, whoa. So you go ahead and you do a replacement. So you're supposed to do a comparison between what they got and what you're proposing. So there's 2 sheets here, replacement form. This first form goes to the company that's being replaced. And usually in this, where I got this little my little hand there. You put down the client's name, company, and policy number. We have brokers that have these completed. They have the client's name here, nothing else. They send off to the replacing company. They have no idea who it is because they can't read the signature. So name, company, policy number. Okay. Now, this actually goes to the company being replaced and the company you're proposing that you want to put insurance with. The written explanation for life insurance, this goes to the company who you're putting in the life insurance with, and you do a comparison between what they have and what you're proposing. What they have, what you're proposing. So the first and second page go to the company that you're submitting business to. The first page goes to the company who's being replaced. Okay, and you submit that, and the companies are not supposed to, if there's a replacement, not supposed to issue the new policy until they receive these. Okay, so and there is a time frame on it. You are supposed to really submit them with a certain period of time of when you write the application, and hopefully it's with the application. All right. So now we're going to go on to the next step, which is basically where we're going to go. And I'll spend a little bit more time. We'll talk about the business, and we'll talk about products. All right. Okay. So basically, this is from the BridgeForce market. Basically, these are the basic life and living benefits that you're licensed to sell this stuff: individual life, disability, like that sheet I showed you originally, small group, and things that you're licensed for. These are the current life insurance companies that we're doing business with. There's 20 of them there. You have access to deal with all these companies if you wish. We find that most of our brokers deal with probably 3 to 5 companies. Okay, you'll find that some companies specialize in certain things, and you maybe deal with them. Canada Life there, for example, was #1 in our office for 10 consecutive years until somebody came up with the bright idea called New Business Now, and they went from first to last in our office in 6 months, and now they're maybe in the middle. So if you take a look at all these companies, some of them you'll deal with more than others. Foresters right here, right now they're the #1 company in our office, and for 3 reasons. #1 is they have great products. We get great service from them, and we have great wholesaler support from them as well. All right. And various companies specialize in certain different things, which I'll go through in a little more detail here in a minute. But those are the companies that mainly, Assumption Life, a specialty company. Blue Cross is mostly healthcare. BMO, we do a lot of UL stuff with them. Canada Life, big whole life provider. CPP, most of you have probably dealt with them in terms of especially difficult cases that you've had trouble getting through. Desjardins, very large company in Quebec, not as big in Ontario, but they've got probably the biggest portfolio of anybody. Edge Benefits is more of a disability specialty risk company, which we were dealing with and then weren't. Now we are again. Empire Life, they're good in term insurance and permanent insurance. Equilife, we write more apps with them usually than any other company. Big on term insurance, very big in whole life as well. Foresters has a great product portfolio as well. Many specialty company, more high risk stuff. Industrial Alliance, Quebec company. They have a special program called the Superior Risk Tolerance Program that if you have a client who's going to be rated 150 to 200%, whether it's term or permanent, you can get them a standard policy. Superior Risk Tolerance Program. You might want to check that one out. Vari, formerly Transamerica, term insurance specialist. They do a lot of layering life insurance. Capital, another specialty company in Quebec. Manulife, one of the biggies. They have life insurance. DI, CI. Okay. Same with the RBC, specializes mostly in DI insurance now. They do have term insurance. SSQ, Quebec company. If you have clients who have issues with diabetes or sleep apnea, we've been getting some very good decisions with them. Sun Life, very, very big in the high income par market, and UL Mutual products. So you have access to those companies. And like I said before, since you are a broker, you shouldn't lose business to competition because you don't have a place to put it, okay? But it's important to know, and I think we're going to work on putting together a BridgeForce company hotspots, in other words, company hotspots, so that you know what company's good at what, and then we'll review that periodically, because I know we used to do that, and because when we take a look at these companies, brokers speak with their pen. Like we'll say, like I said, we were doing all this business with Canada Life, and all of a sudden anything through, so I'm going over to switch. It's hard to get them to the companies that you feel the most comfortable. You perceive them easy to do business with. Perceive them easy to do business with. Forsters is perceive them as do easy business. Brokers are dealing with those, but you just have to pick the ones that you think. Investment side, so basically the company with them, that enables you to sell their investment products as well. Most of those companies that we deal with, like we see the life and living benefit wholesalers more than we do the investment people. But the ones that you have life, if you have a contract, it enables you to sell investments with them as well. So most all those companies that you have access to, and you can sell seg funds, group RSPs, RESPs, RIFs, LIFs, annuities. So all kinds of options in those areas, and you need to go to the companies where you feel you can get the best help and support in terms of those particular areas. All right. So you need to pick the companies that you think are going to fit for your clients. Okay. So now I'm going to referring to the agenda for the next little while, and then we'll get back to some of the attachments, and I'll keep an eye on the time here. So life insurance. Basically, most companies are offering T10. If you've done any surveys, Life Guide or WinQuote, you'll notice that all the companies that you see out there have access to those those products, and T20 as well. Most of T20, and then there's most of the companies have a T10, T20 switch within the first 5 years. Canada Life is 7 years. T30 is relatively new on the market. Sometimes people are comparing it to T100. So the most popular products are T10, T20, T30. There are some companies that have T15 in there. So if you do a Life Guide survey, most of the rates are going to be very, and I'll talk about this in a few minutes, are very similar because they're all on the same page. Okay, that's very similar. But please don't, if you're going to sell off Life Guide, don't go and showing the clients all the Life Guide quotes, because it will just make it awkward for you. All of a sudden they're going to say, okay, I want to go with UL Mutual, and you don't even have a contract with them. So sometimes it's not worth it to set up one contract for one company if you're not going to do business with them again. If you're going to do more, fine. But use Life Guide as a positioning tool for the companies that you want to represent or sell. T100, dwindling market, only a few companies have that still. So you have to take a look at the changes. So Empire Life has had a good T100 with values for a long time. So might look at that. UL, most of the companies offer UL. It's not selling as much of it anymore as we used to. But it's still out there because of the interest rate environment. It's because life insurance with a side fund, if the side fund is like 0.5%, that's not much of an attraction, or 2% or something. So you can take a look at that. Whole life has come back into favor. Years ago, that was the product of choice. Now it's come back in favor. But the reason it's come back into favor for a few reasons. Number one is it's long-term and it's long-term values. But another reason is the companies have changed. They have this Econo Life or the dividend option where you can get 1 year term insurance in addition to the life insurance. So it's a more affordable way of buying permanent life insurance now. So Foresters, for example, has a good Advantage Plus product. Okay, so it's life insurance with enhancement. So it's a base policy, dividends purchase this enhancement, which is now life guaranteed. It used to be guaranteed for 10 years, and now it's lifetime. So that's been a game changer. So if you take out an Advantage Plus product with Foresters, regardless what the interest rate or dividend is, the enhancement is going to be guaranteed. So that's a life changer. So you may want to take a look at that product. They also have an advantage on smokers, an incentive program on smokers for the first 2 years if they become non-smokers, they get a discount. So different things about that. So most of the companies have those particular type products. You need to check out the companies that you want to do business with and find out exactly where they're at in the market. Critical illness, most of the companies have this as well, T10, T20. Most companies have T10, T75, and T100. So it depends on, we're selling a lot more T10 now. Okay, T10 with the option to convert. Get them in, get them insured, and then convert or change it later. So a lot more. So please, if you're not having this critical illness discussion, please do that. It doesn't cost that much to get a T10 in there and get things going. Whole life. So we take a look at whole life. Here's the players. The three biggies: Canada Life, Sun Life, and Manulife. Manulife's coming up with a new product. In fact, it's just coming out very shortly. So those are the three ones there. Empire, Equitable, and Foresters are also very competitive in that. So it depends on what you're looking for. But on some of these cases, larger cases especially, there could be a big, even though the premiums are similar, the long-term values could be dramatically different. So this is why your broker, on these larger cases, you need to go out and see what's out there on the market and position the company that fits best. So you don't want somebody come in and be behind you with something that looks better because you didn't do your research or homework. So it's important you know who the players are. So that's what we're trying to tell you here. Our DI, Canada, RBC, Manulife, Blue Cross does some, but the main thing, we do most of our DI with Canada and RBC. And RBC, formerly Paul Revere, probably has 50 to 60% of the market there. So they do most of that. Healthcare, we do most as Blue Cross, Manu, Sun, Flex Care, Follow Me, Cover Me, and the main ones that we use in our office here. Long-term care, this market is just kind of, the companies of Desjardins is getting out on June 15th. Manulife has gotten out. RBC has gotten out except for conversion on disability plans. So really your only player on the long-term care side is Sun Life, and they have probably, well, they had 60%. Now they're going to have 75% or more of the market. We only sell a handful of long-term care products a year. Believe it or not, it's hard to qualify for, harder than life insurance, harder than critical illness. And one of the problems is people want to look at it when they're an older age. It's not the product to look at when you're 60 years old. It's more of a product when you're 45 years old. All right. So that's something that's there. Investments, okay. Seg funds, most of the companies that have investments are selling seg funds, GICs, annuities. Annuities are very competitive, so you might want to get a CanX quote, which is a survey of annuities. So most all the companies, those products. All right, so next we're going to go on the job done. Recommend that you do if you don't. Subscription to the Insurance Journal. Some people say it's a little bit on what's happening within the life brokerage world. And there's a good article on the back page all the time by Jim Ruda. It's called Corner Office Advice. And Jim always has some good words of wisdom in there that relate to people in the business. So I would highly recommend that you get if you don't already have a subscription to the Insurance Journal. I have down here sales kit, third parties. This is kind of old school. And I say, in other words, if you have a compliance kit, which you have all this reference material to, you should also have a sales kit. In other words, do you have one? Do you have third-party items that you use and you reference when you're dealing with clients? Okay, that's important that you do that because it's important that. Okay, I just was handed a note here, going back a bit. Always submit a company illustration with the application. Okay, if we go back to that app checklist, always submit an application with the illustration. Okay, all right. So planning. Okay, going back to the sales kit, do you have one? It's third-party items that you can use to use as a reference, like that who's with who type of thing, that you can use as a reference with your clients to stress the point. We used to use a lot of this for critical illness insurance, showing statistics and all that kind of stuff. So it's important that you take a look at that. And then if we're doing planning, what's your business plan for 2018? What are you planning on doing this year? Are you planning on growing your business? You're planning on getting more referrals? You're planning on getting into the business market? What are you planning to do? All right. So then we go down to broker procedures. Interview preparation. I've heard the statement say spectacular performance is preceded by unspectacular preparation. And ask yourself, how much time do you spend preparing to go on an appointment? And what would your answer be if you were in an interview with a client and the client said to you, Dennis, how much time did you spend preparing to see me today? How would you honestly answer that question? All right, so I've never had anybody ask it, but I've always wondered if they did ask, I'm going to be ready. All right, and do you have an agenda? What's your agenda for that client? Is it in your head? Is it written down? Do you have a copy for them and for you? And where are you going to go with that agenda? Okay, I remember having a meeting with a lawyer one time about his life insurance, and he kept wandering all over the place, and I kept pointing back to it. He said, "Yep, the agenda." If I hadn't had that, I might still be there. And then when you're doing interviews, you have to decide in your career, are you going to do 1 interviews or 2 interviews or 3 interviews? So it depends on your process and procedure, what works best for you, okay? Some people, want to do it all in one shot if they can do it. Depending on what you're doing, of course. Some people need to take more time to do that. And then what type of follow-up are you doing? If you have an interview, do you send them a thank you? I usually send them a thank you email. Thank that we spent together. And some people follow up on an interview. Or do you by text? They like texting. Or you do email. And also, if you do have a good interview, how are you going to follow up with them on text or email? So have a process or procedure. Like I said before, when in doubt, ask a question. Okay? When in doubt, ask a question. Okay? I went to a Advocates Update meeting, and it was hosted by Terry Zavitz, by the way. And the term came up I hadn't heard before, behavioral finance. How people make informed, productive, effective decisions in a financial context. So could you call yourself a behavioral financial advisor? How people make informed, productive, effective decisions in a financial context. I found that kind of interesting. All right, now moving on to quoting. Okay, basically, if you go, there's a couple different accesses for quoting. Win Quotes One, that's a free service. We have it attached to our BridgeForce website. Understanding we're updating that. I don't know if that's been finished yet, but I know we're updating that. That gives you a survey of what companies have what products. Okay, similar to Life Guide. I use Life Guide, and I understand Alan Wong is going to have a special presentation on Life Guide in a July webinar. I highly recommend that you attend that. Alan's a sharp guy. He's a great trainer, and you'll benefit greatly by that that presentation. And that's unsolicited. Cassie just told me today, so I want to promote that. But so use Life Guide as a positioning tool, okay, so that you can get an idea of where things are at. It's not meant to be used as a primary point of sales tool, but it's a good positioning tool, so it's important. And usually you can position term insurance and permanent insurance, so you get an idea of what things are involved. So Win Quotes free, okay. Life Guide, there's a subscription. It's about $400 or $500 a year if you want to have that. But it's important for positioning things. We use Life Guide a lot for brokers wanting to know where companies stand and what the position is on certain products. All right. So moving on to number 20. Okay. This is the technology. This is from our BridgeForce market material. So we have our back office system, WellServe, which you can go online and get access to your different things, mostly follow up on your cases, things like that. And then you go to certain websites for get access to your commission statements and things like that. BridgeForce website, I highly recommend that you take a look at that. If you haven't, a lot of good, valuable resource material there. BridgeForce newsletters, we keep you up to date on what's going on in the industry. These go out periodically. It's important. And then Quotes for Life. This is an online quoting system. I understand we're reevaluating this particular program right now, and I think we're going to be sending out a survey shortly, Craig says, to see where we're at on that. It's online, so sometimes it's working, sometimes it may not be working, but it is a valuable tool. We're the only one that has it. It enables you to quote off-site, things like that, if you have access to the webinar and things like that. But I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is quote. But as a follow-up on that, the company install the company software. If you're dealing with the Apple's, put BridgeForce website. You can download all the ones you want, and then you can keep them up to date. We send out things periodically, letting people know what the up-to-date software is. So I would suggest that you highly recommend that the companies you're doing business with on a regular, because you need to get to know their products, and the best way to get to know products is doing illustrations. Okay, so put that on your computer from the BridgeForce website. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over is probably the most important thing I'll go over with you today. At least I think this is a game changer. I think this is what separates BridgeForce, separates us from our competitors. Pre-underwriting assessments. How many of your clients have medical issues? Some, maybe all. And do you always know that? One thing that used to be that the insurance company said you can submit a trial application. There is no such thing as a trial application. Once you submit pen to paper, send it to the insurance company, it's on the record. I think one of the best tools that the insurance companies have given us that we should take advantage of is pre-underwriting assessments. And this is a form that we've designed. We've ran this by underwriters for the various companies. It's one page. If you do a good job on it, it's like a mini application. And the best thing about it is it's off the record. So if you have any client, in fact, whether you do business, whoever you do business with, whatever company, before you prepare to write an application, what I suggest our brokers do, shove this in front of your client and says, is there anything that we need to talk about before we proceed further? Because how many times have you got in the middle of an application and they tell you something that they didn't tell you before, and it's a game changer? They forgot to tell you about that stroke they had 2 years ago, or that heart attack they had 5 years ago, or this or that, because they didn't think it was important today. Okay? So this is something that we use all the time with our brokers, especially with newer brokers. I've had a case recently where I had a referral from a client, from one of my centers of influence, about a client who had applied with London Life and was rated for sleep apnea, and he wasn't happy. So she referred him to me. I contact him and says, here's the way I operate. I get some information. I send out the insurance companies. We do a pre-underwriting assessment. I'll come back to you and make a recommendation. I sent it out to 5 companies, and I had, in fact, all of them came back standard. All of them came back standard. And so I submitted to Equilife with the pre-underwriting. He got standard. He was rated with the London Life agent had nowhere to go. I also had access to 2 other companies that would give him standard if Equil hadn't gone with standard. So that made me look good, but I got that business because of the way I position myself, the way I do business. So become known for what you do. Become known for what you do. So I can't stress this enough. If this is one page, I'd circle this. I would print this off. I would carry these around with you. You can use this on anybody, any type of situation. If there's any medical situation whatsoever, it's important you do pre-underwriting assessment. And you'll find the following sheet here, which I'll show you in a second here. These are the companies that are presently doing pre-underwriting assessments: Canada Life, Canada Protection Plan, Equil, Foresters, Industrial Avari has opted out at the moment. They used to have it, but they don't have it at the moment. So those are the companies that you do. And so you're getting the reason we put CPP in here is say if it's really not that good, then you know what the other spectrum looks like on the other side of the tables, because the difficult to underwrite cases. So they'll give you an assessment at Bill Foresters, and most of these companies will get back to you within 2 or 3 days. And so what we do is we use this as a closing tool, saying, okay, John and Mary BridgeForce, we've sent this out to a handful of companies. Here's what they're saying. Here's what they're saying about your particular medical situation. How do you want to proceed? Because insurance companies will come back. We say, we think it's standard. We think it might be rated. We think it's here. And usually, if the information is accurate and correct, we will get a pretty proper, close assessment. All right? So that's important. So that's important that you would go over that information as well. All right? So this is, like I said, this is probably, and I notice this is it's date of birth, or age nearest. You need to put whether it's male or female. That's one thing you need to put on there. Are you in good health? That's kind of an opening question because everybody says they're in good health. Any present health issues? Well, here's where we go. Have you smoked anything? You notice that's in capital letters in the past 12 months. Right now, the companies are giving us a break on marijuana smokers. If you smoke 1 to 2 joints a week, you'll probably become a non-smoker. But the stat that you may not know is about 85% of people smoke marijuana also smoke cigarettes. And nobody out there gives you a break on cigarettes, except for Foresters has that incentive non-smoker program on the one product for the first 2 years. So anything in the past 12 months, that's anything, all right? Approximate height and weight, build, okay? That's a big part. If you have clients who have challenges with build, look at Avari, look at Industrial Alliance. Industrial Alliance build chart is the biggest in the industry. I mean big, okay? How's your blood pressure? If you control, probably not a problem. Do you take medication on a regular basis? Companies are concerned with medical issues in the past 3, 5, and 10 years. That seems to be the way that they look at stuff. So if people think 10 years or more, you're probably maybe okay. Pending tests. Oh boy. Oh no. Pending tests, not good. Not good. Anybody have pending tests? Insurance companies do not want to make a decision. They're going to probably postpone you till those tests are done. So if you push them, probably make a decision. It won't be in favor of your client. So pending tests, you want to try and have as much of that resolved before you submit applications. And pending tests, APS definitely, and probably postponement or decline. Any drinking, driving, or drug issues, okay, need to fill out a questionnaire for that. 4 months, usually as long as 4 to 6 weeks. Any avocations, history, especially if it's for critical illness, and history of cancer, stroke, what's your history there? And is there anything else in your personal family or that we need to discuss? Is there anything else that we need to discuss? Okay. And like I said, this is off the record. We send it to the insurance companies anonymously. They come back, they give us assessment, and then you can go back to your client and says, this isn't what I'm saying. This is what the insurance company is saying. All right. And so, and these are the company contacts for that you can do this directly. You don't have to do this through your MGA, or you can do this directly. Go right to the companies, and they will send you a reply directly. All right, so it's a very good position. So if you got one thing out of our session today, hopefully it's this one. All right, so that's important. And there's the company contact information. Like I said, Avari is not doing it at the present time. Okay. Okay, so got that. Okay, now I'm keeping on the time here, so I'm going to wrap it up shortly, and then we're going to. You have the agenda, which things that you can go over, and I'll go over that on the next session. The rest of it I don't do today, but I will probably go down to the broker development, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so case consulting. A lot of your offices do case consulting with your marketing people, so if you need some help on a case, you contact them. And it's important that you know who your marketing reps are for the insurance company. Your particular offices have relationships with marketing reps with certain companies. We have marketing reps come in periodically to us, and we conduct meetings, what we call Grand River Tuesdays, and they come in and they go over things important. So it's important that you have contacts with the companies, because if you have a relationship with the companies and the marketing reps, you're going to do business with them. right? And the marketing reps do want to have relationships with you and help you get to know them and their products. AOR, agent of record, okay? There are products out there, okay, that maybe something was written by another broker, okay, and they would like you to take it over. Most of the companies, if it's written by a broker, you can become an agent of record on that contract. You cannot become agent of record on business written by a London Life Career agent or Sun Life Career agent. You cannot become agent of record on that. But other than that, you probably can. But you have to have a contract with that company, and you have to be in good standing with that company to get an agent of record. You can take over, get access to that business. You will not get paid. The only way you get paid on that business is if the existing agent signs off, which is very difficult and challenging. If you do new business, a term conversion on that business, you will get paid on that. Okay. We do have an AOR kit that we prepared that gives you the guidelines for every single company and what the rules are, because they're all different. Okay. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, we'd be interested in providing that. Okay. So submission of applications. Here's some guidelines. I'm not gonna go over this in a lot of detail, but this kind of shows the processes when an app is submitted, what happens there, and the process that we go through in doing that type of thing. All right. Also, 24. This is stuff that we've missed on applications. Believe it or not, I went to one of our new business people, and she gave me this list of things that brokers miss on applications. Okay. A lot of things that we've gone over. If you do that brokerage checklist sheet for your apps, you probably won't be a victim of this. But just check the current application, witnesses, advisors report, cover sheet, product page, and like I said, please submit a company illustration with the application so we know what you're applying for. All right, so that's important there. And also too is there's a follow-up. You can follow up on WellServe, and also when the policy is delivered. Okay, we have a delivery process with the BridgeForce delivery receipt and company receipt. So has there been any change in health? Has you gone to the doctor? Is there anything else? So in other words, has there been any changes between the time that you written the application and the time the policy was issued and delivered? Okay, if there is, you need to report it to the insurance company. Okay, that's important. So there is a process and procedure you have in place, and that's over that reason why letter with your clients and why you did it. It was paid directly to you from. You go to the company statements and compensation by product guide. That is available. I can send that to you if you want. And we've kind of taken all the manuals and put them together and says here's what the commissions are and here's what the renewals are on certain products. It's fairly consistent with most companies are consistent in what they're paying on T10, T20, things like that. So that is available. And then you get paid. You get your statements paid online. All right. So it's our time is up. At least our allotted time is up. So I want to thank you very much for allowing me to go through this with you today. The time went a lot quicker than I anticipated. Hopefully you've learned something today. What I would like to do is if you have any questions on what I went over today, please send me an email. If you like that super compliance email, please send me an email. What I'd like to do is take some of your questions and feedback for the next webinar. Okay. At the next webinar, I over today to try and address any information, or if there's something that very relevant to you in your career. I'm still want to grow and develop, and I'm very in development, especially with new brokers. Like I said, we're getting a lot of new brokers. I mean, new brokers, new into the business. So, and one thing is, I went to Kansas Sales Congress a couple of weeks ago, and actually one of our BridgeForce brokers, Erica Lee, talked about millennials. And one of the highlights for me is 6:15 a.m. in the morning, 5 of us are standing in the lobby of the Beanfield Center waiting for the thing to begin, and it started at 8 o'clock. So, and it was exciting to me to see our brokers networking with each other at that Canada Sales Congress a couple weeks ago. So it's exciting to see our brokers working together and helping one another, because we all want everybody to be successful, and if we work together, we can be more successful. So thank you very much. Have a great day and a great rest of the week, and hopefully you'll tune in at the next webinar next month, whenever we determine that date is. And I wish you well in your career development. If I can help you, please drop me a line or an email, and I'll be glad to help you any way I can. Okay? Thank you.